Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Diversity of Plant Zone. In this channel, you will get every information related to plants and their diversity throughout the world. Before starting this video, I request you all to please subscribe my YouTube channel. This channel needs your support in the form of your feedbacks, comments, subscription and likes. I'm doing my best to explain everything related to plants and their diversity. So I really need your support for the progress of this channel. Today's topic of my video is about morphology of stem, and today I will discuss its part 3. I hope that you will enjoy this video. So let's start the video. Today I will discuss about the further modifications of stem. Further modifications of stem. Stems are branches of certain plants. Instead of growing vertically upward and bearing leaves and flowers like normal stem, are modified into various shapes to carry on special functions. So these modifications may be: the first modification is subaerial modifications. Second modification is the underground modifications, and the third modification is aerial modifications. First, I will discuss about the subaerial modifications of stems. For the purpose of vegetative propagation, some of the lower dormant buds of the main erect stem in the certain plants grow out into the slender lateral branches. Some of them are subaerial, spreading on the surface of the soil, and the others partly subterranean. The various kinds are, and the first kind is rana. It is a prostrate shoot with the long internodes creeping on the ground, which develops from the axillary bud and creeps some distance away from the mother plant. At the nodes, the scale leaves are present, bearing the buds in their axils. The buds develop into the erect, leafy, aerial shoots, which establish themselves by the formation of adventitious roots from their bases. The internodes die, and these shoots become independent plants, as in the cynodon, dactylon. Further modifications of stem. So this is the rana stem. In the first figure, you can see that this is the parent plant, and this is rana. This is new plant, and these are roots. In the second figure, you can see that this is main plant body, this is root, this is rana, this is new plant and new root, as shown in the figure. Further modifications of the stem. So this is the rana stem of grass, and grass is also known as the cynodon. In the first figure, you can see that this is aerial shoot, and this aerial shoot is also known as crown. This is scale leaf. These are adventitious roots, and this is rana. In the second figure, you can see that this is internode. Again, this is internode. These are the green leaves. This is aerial branch, scale leaf. Next is the prostrate stem, which is also known as rana, and these are adventitious roots, as shown in the figure. So the next type is the stolon. In many plants, a horizontal branch arises from the lower node of the stem and run parallel to the soil surface, and these branches do not differentiate into the nodes and internodes like ranas. These branches are called stolon, and these may enter the ground or simply touch the ground. Adventitious roots develop at the points where these branches touch the soil. Then the branch turns up and the terminal bud develops into a new aerial shoot. So new plants are established due to the death of the stolon. The examples are the blackberry and the second example is jasmines. Further modifications of the stem. So this is the stolon stem. In the first figure, you can clearly see that this is the stolon. In the second figure, you can see this is the stolon and these are adventitious roots as shown in the figure. Further modifications of the stem. So this is the stolon of the strawberry. In the first figure, you can see that these are nodes. Again, this is knot. So these are the stolon and these are roots. In the second figure, you can see these are leaflets. This is petiole. This is scale leaf and this is the stolon. Again, this is stolon. So this is the figure of stolon of the Frigeria vesca, which is also known as the strawberry as shown in the figure. So the next type is the offset. It is a short, more or less prostrate branch. It originates from an axillary bud like rana, but it grows for a very short distance and then its terminal bud develops into a new plant. By the death of the offset, the new plants become separated from the parent plants. The examples are the water hyacinth and pana, which is also known as water cabbage. Further modifications of the stem. So this is the figure of offset stem. In the figure you can see very clearly that these are the leaves, these are roots, and this is the offset of pistia. In the second figure you can see that this is offset and these are root pockets as shown in the figure. Further modifications of the stem. So this is the offset of the eichhornia, and eichhornia is also known as water hyacinth. In the first figure you can see that this is offset. This is inflated petiole. These are the adventitious roots and this is root pocket. This is offset of eichhornia and eichhornia is also known as water hyacinth. In the second figure you can see that this is the lamina. This is the swollen petiole. This is spongy stem and this is offset. These are root pockets. So this is the eichhornia showing the offset as shown in the figure. Next type or fourth type is the sucker. So sucker, it is lateral branch developing from underground portion of an erect stem. It grows under the ground for some time and then turns upwards and produces an aerial shoot or a new plant by forming adventitious roots at the base, as in mint. Further modifications of stem. This is the sucker stem. In the first figure, you can see that these are leaves, this is aerial shoot, and this is the suckers. These are scale leaves, and this is adventitious roots of mint as shown in the figure. In the second figure, you can see that this is sucker of the chrysanthemum as shown in the figure. Further modifications of the stem. This is sucker of mint, and mint is also known as podina. So this is sucker in the chrysanthemum. In the second figure, you can see that these are leaves. This is aerial shoot, this is scale leaf, and this is sucker. These are adventitious roots as shown in the figure. Further modifications of the stem. So these are the subaerial modifications of stem, which includes rana, stolon, sucker, and offset as shown in the figure. So next are the underground modifications of stems. In many perennials, part or whole stem grows underground, and these are thick due to the stored food present in them. This food is utilized by the underground stem for the development of new aerial shoots. From the birds, the underground stem is used for the pollination purposes. The various kinds of underground stems are: the first is the rhizome. This is an elongated underground stem with distinct nodes and internodes. At each node, a small bud in the axil of a scale leaf is present, which develops into an aerial shoot. So adventitious roots grow from the nodes. Rhizomes with the reserve food are found in ginger, turmeric, and kana, which is also known as akeek. Further modifications of the stem. So this is the rhizome. In the first figure, you can see this is stem of the turmeric rhizome, which includes the scale leaves. This is bud, this is node, internode, and adventitious root. In the second figure, you can see that these are internodes, these are scale leaf, bud, node, and these are adventitious roots as shown in the figure. Further modifications of the stem. So this is rhizome of ginger. In the first figure, you can see that this is the aerial shoot. This is internode. These are scale leaf. This is bud. This is node. And these are adventitious roots. And this is the rhizome of ginger. In the second figure, you can see this is internode. These are scale leaves, bud, node, and adventitious roots as shown in the figure. So next type is the corm. This is a thick, solid, more or less rounded underground stem with a few internodes. It is covered with many scale leaves arising from the nodes. In the axil of scale leaves, the buds are present which develop into the aerial shoots. So adventitious roots are given up from the base of the stem. The examples are the crocus, which is also known as saffron, and the second example is colocasia, which is also known as kachalu. So further modifications of the stems also include the corm stem. In the first figure, you can see that this is node, this is internode, these are scale leaf. So this is corm, and this is daughter corm, and these are adventitious roots. In the second figure, you can see this is soil surface, this is old corm, this is underground stem, daughter corm, adventitious roots, and node. as shown in the figure. So further modifications of the stem. This is the corm of colocasia. In the first figure you can see that this is knot, internot, scale leaf, corm, daughter corm and adventitious roots. Corm of the colocasia. In the second figure, this is knot, internot, scale leaf, corm, daughter corm and adventitious roots as shown in the figure. So the next type is the bulb. In this case, the stem is reduced to a conical disc, from the underside of which the adventitious roots are given off. On the upper surface of the disc, the large fleshy leaves with the stored food in them are present, and the disc bears an apical bud which grows into a flowering axis surrounded by the foliage leaves. So adventitious roots grow from the base of the bulb. The bulbs may be, the first are tunicated bulbs. In these, the bases of the foliage leaves store up food and become thick and fleshy. So further modifications of the stem, this is tunicated bulb. In the tunicated bulb, you can see in this diagram, this is developing flower bud and this is leaf scale. These are lateral bulblets. This is the developing leaf. This is tunic and this is the basal plate. In the second figure, you can see that this is tunic or outer bulb scale. This is the main lateral bulblet. This is the basal plate. These are adventitious roots. This is the flower bud and this is the foliage leaves. This is the bulb scales and these are the lateral bulblets as shown in the figure. The further modifications of stem. So the tunicated bulb of onion. In the first figure, you can see that these are the remains of the previous aerial growth. This is scale leaves and these are fleshy leaves. This is stem bulb and these are roots. And this is the lateral bud. So onion is also known as the allium cepa. In the second figure, you can see this is tunic. These are scale layers. This is the terminal bud and these are apex and root system. And this is base of the scape. So this is a bulb 2 years to complete the life cycle as shown in the figure. Next is the tunic. The inner leaf bases enclose one another, while the outermost leaf bases dry up to form the membranous covering or tunic, as in onion, garlic, and tulip, etc. Further modifications of stem. So this is the tunic of the tulip. For example, this is the tunic. These are scales, basal stem, roots, and flower bud. In the second figure, you can see the parts of the tulip, which includes the flower bud, tunic, basal stem, roots, scales, as shown in the figure. So next type is the scaly or imbricate bulbs. In these, the discs bear the two types of leaves, the foliage leaves and the scale leaves. The foliage leaves die away at the end of the season, and the food is stored in scale leaves, which became thick and fleshy. The fleshy scale leaves overlap one another at their margins, and they are found in lily. So, further modifications of the stem. This is the bulb of lily. In the first figure, you can see this is the outer daughter scale. This is mother scale. These are roots and basal plate, and this is shoot. In the figure B, you can see this is the big vascular bundle. This is small vascular bundle, and this is the sampling site as shown in the figure. Further modifications of the stem. also include the scaly and imbricate bulb of lily. So in the first figure and the second figure, you can see this is fleshy scale, and these are adventitious roots as shown in the figure. Further modifications of stem includes the scaly and imbricate bulb of lily. In the figure, you can see that this is the flowering shoot of the mother bulb past season. These are leaves. And this is the new daughter scales next season. These are old mother scales past season. And this is the growing point of the daughter bulb for the next season flower. These are contractile basal roots. This is basal plate as shown in the figure. So further modifications of the stem. So in the first figure, you can see the tunicated bulb of onion, which includes the base of the scape, bulb, tunic, and adventitious roots. This is the fleshy part, fleshy scale leaf. And this is apex, axillary bud, disc, adventitious roots, and this is base of the scape. And the second figure is the figure of scaly bulb of lily, which includes the fleshy scales and fibrous roots, and these are contractile roots as shown in the figure. Next type is the stem tuber. So this is a solid underground part of the stem which serve for the storage of food and vegetative reproduction. As in potato plant, it consists of many internodes. Small scale leaves are present at the nodes, having the lateral buds in their axils, which are called eyes, which develop into new plants for the next growing season. Further modifications of the stem. So this is the stem tuber. In the first figure, you can see these are leaflets, stem, this is developing tuber, these are roots, this is tuber, and these are stolons. In the figure B, you can see these are eyes and these are the leaf scars. In the second figure, you can see this is potato plant and these are tuber as shown in the figure. Further modifications of the stem includes the stem tuber of potato. So this is a germinating eye bud. This is scar of the scale leaf. This is scar of the stem, and this is eye. In the second figure, you can see this is scar of stem, scar of the scale leaf, eye, germinating eye bud, apex, and rose end. So this is underground modification of the stem in potato. Further modifications of the stem. In this figure, in part A, you can see this is underground branch with the stem tuber, which includes the young tuber and underground branch. In the second figure B, you can see that this is the scar of the stem, scale leaf, and this is axillary bud, which is both of these form the eye, and this is the sprouting bud. So this figure is of the single stem tuber as shown in the figure. So next I am going to discuss about the functions of underground stems. The first function is they help the plants to tide over unfavorable period of growth. Second, they provide very effective means for vegetative propagation. They also help the plants to cover the large areas of ground by creeping through the soil, and they serve for the storage of food materials. Next I am going to discuss about economic importance of the underground stems. And the first is they contain the important food substances and drugs. For example, in ginger, turmeric, colocasia, onion, garlic, and potato. Second, some weeds with rhizomes pose a serious problem to cereal crops. 2. Eradicate such weeds. The rhizomes are dug out and burnt. So next I am going to discuss about the aerial modifications of the stem. Leaf buds and floral buds, which would normally develop into branches, undergo the extreme degree of modifications in certain plants for the different purposes, and these perform the functions very different from those of ordinary stems. These do not look like stems, but they can be distinguished by their position, mode of development, and internal structure. So some of such modifications are: the first modification is stem tendrils. In many weak stemmed plants, the stems are modified into a thread-like structures which are called tendrils, which are climbing organs. And when the apical part of the tendril comes in contact with the spot, it twines round it. The stem tendrils are found in vine, passion flower, gourd, cucumber, and melons, etc. So further modifications of the stem includes the stem tendrils. In the first figure, you can see this is stem tendril. This is weak stem, and this is bamboo stick for the spot. In the second figure, you can see this is the tendril as shown in the figure. Further modifications of stem, these are stem tendrils. In the first figure, these are stem tendrils, and again this is stem tendril. In the second figure, in the first part, you can see this is the tendril in grapevine. These are tendrils. And the second figure, this is the tendril in cucumber, as shown in the figure. Further modifications of stem. The examples of the stem tendrils include vine, passion flower, and gourd, as shown in the figure. Further modifications of stem. So the examples of stem tendrils are cucumber and melons, as shown in the figure. So next type is the phylloclades and cladodes. In the plants growing in dry and hot places, the stem and the leaves are reduced to scales to prevent the transpiration. The stems in these plants became flattened, green, and leaf-like and perform the function of a leaf, and such stems are called phylloclades. So if they have more than one internode, such as in the opentia, rhizis, cacti, or cladodes. If they consist of a single internode, for example in asparagus, these are the adaptations to the xerophytic conditions. So further modifications of the stem, this is the cladode of rhizis and asparagus. In the first figure, you can see that this is the flower bud. These are cladodes, and this is scale leaf of rhizis. In the second figure, you can see this is cladode. These are the hooked leaf, and this is stem of asparagus as shown in the figure. Further modifications of the stem includes the phylloclade of the opentia. In this figure, you can see this is fruit, phylloclade. This is leaf scars, and these are the spine bristles. This is leaf scar and areole. So this is areole, and this is figure of phylloclade of opentia as shown in the figure. Further modifications of stem, phylloclade of opentia. So this is phylloclade, leaf spine, internode, node, stem, and flower of opentia as shown in the figure. Further modifications of stem. So this is the cladode of rhizis. In this figure, you can see this is flower bud, cladodes, and scale leaf of rhizis as shown in the figure. Further modifications of stem includes the cladode of asparagus. So these are the cladodes and cladodes in asparagus as shown in the figure. So next I am going to discuss about the stem spine or thorns. In the plants growing in dry climate, the axillary branches or apices of the main shoot stop growing and become hard and sharp pointed, and these are called the stem spines or thorns. They protect the plant against the browsing animals and prevent the loss of water. They are found in the Duranta and pomegranate, algae, orange. So spines are different from the prickles such as in rose. The prickles are outgrowths from the surface of the stem and they are without vascular bundles. Further modifications of stem, this is the stem spine and thorns of the Duranta. This is leaflet. This is thorn and winged petiole. This is stem and joint of Duranta as shown in the figure. Further modifications of stem. So these are stem spines and thorns of orange. So further modifications of stem spines and thorns of the algae, which is also known as the camel thorn, and this is the algae, sued algae as shown in the figure. Further modifications of stem includes the stem spines and thorns of the pomegranate as shown in the figure. Further modifications of stem, these are prickles of rose as shown in the figure. So next type is the torus or thalamus. So flowers arise in the axil of a leaf which is called bract. The enlarged tip of the stalk of the flower bearing the floral leaves is called a thalamus or torus. It is a modification of stem. Its internal structure is like that of a stem. So further modifications of stem, this is torus or thalamus of a typical flower. In the first figure, you can see that this is pistil, style, this is stigma, and this is stamen. This is petal, this is ovary, this is ovule, anther, and this is filament. These are sepals and thalamus. In the second figure, you can see these are anther, stigma, this is filament, petal, this is sepal, and this is style, and this is ovary, this is ovule, and this is thalamus or torus as shown in the figure. Next type is the bulbils. So sometimes the axillary buds get modified into the small swollen structure which are called bulbils. These are the means of vegetative reproduction, for example in lilium. Further modifications of stem. So these are the bulbils of lilium as shown in the figure. So next type is the tendrils. So tendrils are the sensitive thread-like structures which when come in contact with the spot are either capable of clinging to it, for example in the Ampelopsis, and adhesive discs grow from the tendrils or growing round it forming a spring-like structures. So further modifications of the stem, these are the tendrils as shown in the figure. So they are in fact modified organs of the plant. The following are the most commonly encountered types, and the first type is stem tendrils. Stem apex, vitis, or an axillary stem branch, passiflora, may be modified into a tendril. So further modifications of the stem includes the stem tendril. This is the stem tendril, weak stem, and bamboo stick for sport. In the second figure, you can see this is stem tendril, axillary, leaf, and weak stem as shown in the figure. Further modifications of stem, these are the stem tendrils of vitis as shown in the figure. This is the stem tendril of passiflora as shown in the figure. So the next type is leaf tendrils. The leaves are modified into tendrils, for example, in the Lathyrus. Next is the leaflet tendrils. The leaflets are modified into the tendrils, for example, in the Pisum species. Next is leaf tip tendrils. The leaf tip assumes the function of tendril, for example, in the Gloriosa superba. Further modifications of stem, this is leaf tendril as shown in the figure. So further modifications of stem, leaf tendril of Lathyrus, Aphaca. These are the leafy stipules. This is whole leaf tendril and this is weak stem as shown in the figure. So further modifications of the stem. In the first figure, you can see this is Pisum stivum. The upper leaflets is modified into the tendrils. This is stipule and these are the leaflet tendrils. And in the second figure, you can see this is the Narrowalia, terminal leaflet modified into a tendril. So this is the leaflet tendril. This is second figure, leaflet tendril of P as shown in the figure. Further modifications of the stem includes the leaflet tendril of Pisum sativum as shown in the figure. So this is Pisum sativum. So this is the leaflet tendril of the Pisum sativum as shown in the figure. Leaf tip tendril. So this is the leaf tip tendril of the further modifications of the stem as shown in the figure. This is leaf tip tendril of Gloriosa superba. You can see very clearly in this figure. So next is the stipular tendrils. The stipules get transformed into tendrils, for example, in the Smilex. Next is petiolar tendrils. The petiole of the leaf takes on the function of a tendril, for example, in the Clematis and garden nasturtium. So this is the stipular tendril of the further modifications of stem as shown in the figure. So this is the stipular tendril of the Smilex as shown in the figure. This is petiolar tendril of further modifications of stem as shown in the figure. So this is the petiolar tendril of the Clematis as shown in the figure. So next is the petiolar tendril of the garden nasturtium as shown in the figure. Next I am going to discuss about the functions of stem. So first I will discuss about the primary functions of stem. First, it bears and supports leaves, flowers and fruits. Second, the various appendages borne on the stem are placed in such fashion that they are able to carry out their functions most effectively. Third, it conducts the water and mineral salts from the roots to the leaves and fruits. Fourth, the food manufactured in the leaves is transported to the roots, fruits and organs of storage through the stem. Fifth, every year it adds the new cells, tissues and organs which are required for the continued functioning of the plants. So second I am going to discuss about the secondary or accessory functions of the stem. First, the storage of food in its parenchymatous cells and underground portions like the rhizomes, for example ginger, corms, for example colocasia and tubers like the potato. Second, storage of sugar as in the stems of the sugarcane. Third, Storage of the water as in many succulents like the Apentia. Fourth, floating on water when erenchymatous, for example, Neptunia. Fourth, perenniation when underground, for example, mint, Saccharum, Dryopteris, and Zingiber, and Curcuma. Fifth, manufacture of the food in the younger state when modified into the phylloclades and cladodes, for example, Apentia, asparagus, and Rascus. Seventh, to help in the climbing by modifying itself into tendrils, for example, passiflora, grapevine, thorns, for example, bougainvillea, and hooks, for example, Artabotrys. 8. The protection against the grazing animals when modified into the thorns, for example, Duranta, or bear the prickles, for example, rose. 9th, reduction of the rate of the transpiration of the plant when modified into thorns, for example, Alhagi, Duranta, and phylloclades, for example, Opentia, or cladodes, for example, Rascus. 10th, means of vegetative reproduction as in case of runners, for example, grass stolons like strawberry, offsets, for example, eichhornia, and underground stems, for example, mint potato, etc. 11th, sexual reproduction when modified into flowers. So next I'm going to discuss about the difference between the stem and the root. Difference between stem and root. First I will discuss the stem, and the second I will discuss the root. Stem, it develops from the plumule of the embryo. Root, it develops from the radicle of the embryo. Stem, it is the ascending axis of the plant. It is the descending axis of the plant. Stem, the stem is usually green in color and grows towards the light. Root, the root is non-green and goes away from light. Stem, it has distinct nodes and internodes. Root, it has no nodes and internodes, but in the stem, the nodes and internodes and bears the similar and dissimilar membranes. But in the roots, they have no distinct nodes and internodes, and they bears only the similar members. Stem, the branches are exogenous in origin. Root, the branches are endogenous in origin. Stem, at the apex there is a terminal bud. Root, root cap is present at the apex. Stem, the multicellular or rarely unicellular outgrowths may develop anywhere on the stem surface. Root, the root hairs are unicellular and they are the pro-elongations or prolongations of the epidermal cells and not outgrowths. They are located at a particular zone, and that zone is called root hair zone. So next I am going to discuss about difference between the stem tuber and root tuber. Difference between the stem tuber and root tuber. So first I will discuss about the stem tuber and then I will discuss the root tuber. Stem tuber, the tuber represents a swollen stem. Root tuber, the tuber represents a swollen root. Stem tuber, the stem tuber arises at the tip of an underground branch. Root tuber, the root tuber can arise from any part of the root. Stem tuber, it does not bear roots in the intact condition. Root tuber, several finer root branches can arise from it. Stem tuber, the surface of the tuber bears a number of spirally arranged eyes. Root tuber, the eyes are absent. Stem tuber, each eye represents a knot. The distance between the two adjacent knots is called an interknot. Root tuber, the knots and interknots are absent. Stem tuber, each knot or eye consists of a scale leaf and one or more buds. Root tuber, the scale leaves and axillary buds are absent. Adventitious buds are however present. Stem tuber, the tip of the tuber possesses an apical bud. Root tuber, the apical bud is absent. Stem tuber, an exposed stem tuber can develop the chlorophyll. Root tuber, the chlorophyll does not develop in a root tuber. Stem tuber, it has a stem-like internal anatomy. Root tuber, it has a root-like internal anatomy. Next, I am going to discuss about the difference between the tuber and bulb. First, I will discuss the difference of tuber and then I will discuss the difference of bulb. Tuber, a plant bears a number of tubers. Bulb, a plant develops only a single bulb. Tuber, a tuber represents the swollen end of the stolon. Bulb, a bulb represents a compact shoot complex. Tuber, the stem is enlarged. Bulb, the stem is reduced and discoid. Tuber, a tuber is devoid of roots. Bulb, a bulb bears roots at its base. Tuber, the food is stored in the stem. Bulb, the food is stored in scales, leaf bases and buds. Tuber, the surface bears a number of eyes representing the knots. Bulb, the eyes are absent, knots are not conspicuous. Tuber, the buds are external. Bulb, the buds are internal. Tuber, the surface is covered by a corky skin. Bulb, it may be covered by a membranous tunic or remain naked. Tuber, the scale leaves are inconspicuous. Bulb, the scale leaves or leaf bases are quite conspicuous, either becoming the fleshy or covering the bulb as tunic. So next I am going to discuss about the difference between the corm and stem tuber. Difference between the corm and stem tuber. The first I will discuss the difference of corm and then I will discuss the stem tuber. So corm is the main stem or axis of the plant. Stem tuber is the swollen end of the specialized underground branch. Corm, it is vertically oriented. Stem tuber, it has no fixed orientation. Corm, it bears many adventitious roots towards the base. Stem tuber doesn't bear the roots. A corm bears the circular knots and knots or eyes are small and arranged spirally over the tuber. Corm, it bears the foliage leaves and stem tuber, the foliage leaves do not develop on the stem tuber. Corm, the lateral buds are quite conspicuous and stem tuber, the lateral buds are very small. Corm, it doesn't bear the depressions. Stem tuber, it possesses the small depressions in the region of its knots. Corm, the corms of the successive year persist and generally lie around or above the older ones. Stem tuber, the older stem tuber is completely exhausted in the formation of new plants. If you like my video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and press the bell icon as well for further information. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for your time and appreciation.